Patch 1.97 finally answered the prayers of many British Ground Forces players. A new high-tier premium to replace the awful shot-cal delay. With its high-velocity 105mm gun, DM23 and thermal optics, is the new premium Rooikat 105 competitive? And more importantly, is it worth the money? Alright lads, today I'm going to be talking about the performance, weapons and playstyle of this South African speedy boy. Starting as always with the basics. The Rooikat 105 is a rank 6 battle rating 8.7 tank destroyer located in the British tech tree. This tank is a premium vehicle and must be purchased in a pack on the Guardian store. For a price of €60, you receive the Rooikat, 2,000 Golden Eagles and 15 days of premium time. Being a premium, the tank only has a 10,000 Silverline crew train cost. It also has a pretty high expert qualification cost of 1,120,000 Silver Lions and an ace qualification cost of 2,100 Golden Eagles. The Rooikat has the joint highest base RP modifier of any premium tank. With a base modifier of 2.26, you can expect an RP modifier of 452% with a free-to-play account and 678 with a premium account. The tank also receives the same base Silverline modifier that all of the other top tier premiums receive. With a base Silverline modifier of 1.4, you can expect a 280% Silverline modifier with a free-to-play account and 420% with premium. If you'd like to know more about the Rooikat 105 and whether every Britbong's dream of an effective top tier premium has come true, then stick around for the rest of the video. The Rooikat 105 is powered by the same engine as the tech tree Rooikat Mark 1D, but naturally, the 105 is slightly heavier, 2 tons heavier to be precise. This means that the 567 horsepower engine needs to work a little bit harder in the Rooikat 105. The power to weight ratio of the tech tree Rooikat is 21.4 horsepower per ton, compared to the 105's 19.9 horsepower per ton. Besides a slightly worse acceleration compared to the tech tree Rooikat, the premium 105 still retains a great speed associated with the Rooikat family of vehicles, capable of reaching a top speed of 120 km per hour in hard terrain and up to 44 km in reverse. Like most wheeled vehicles in War Thunder, the initial acceleration is quite poor when compared to tracked vehicles, but the wheels more than make up for themselves when it comes to top speed and speed retention. While this premium and other wheeled vehicles are able to succeed in high speed, they suffer greatly in low speed mobility. Wheeled vehicles are obviously unable to neutral steer, which makes them a bit clumsy in narrow urban environments. Wheeled vehicles also struggle in soft terrain, such as mud, sand and snow. On maps where this terrain is heavily present, the performance of this vehicle will be dramatically worse. The Rooikat 105 has around 95% of the performance of the tech tree variant. Basically, just imagine a normal Rooikat that's had a few too many pork pies. Although being slightly less mobile than the non-premium, the 105 is still able to use its great mobility to put itself in strong forward positions. Like my previous review in the non-premium Rooikat, the best way to describe the Rooikat 105 is mobile but not manoeuvrable. Being a speedy boy, the Rooikat had to make a pretty bloody drastic sacrifice in the armour department. The steel is just about thick enough to stop this vehicle tearing itself apart as it goes over rough terrain. But you know, no armour best armour and all that. To test the Rooikat's armour, we'll be using the DM23 round. Starting as always with the lower frontal plate, you can see it only has 24mm worth of protection, and the upper frontal plate is not much better. While it is highly angled at 74 degrees, it still only provides 75mm worth of protection. The whole sides vary in thickness as you go down the vehicle, but it is roughly 38mm thick. The rear of the vehicle is thinner again, at only around 20mm of effective thickness. The turret of this vehicle is also poorly armoured, with the front only providing 28mm worth of armour, and the side slightly thinner at 26mm, basically only just thick enough to stop 50 cals. The rear of the turret features the thinnest part of the armour at only 16mm thick. On top of this poor armour, the Rooikat 105 also has hull break, meaning a centre mass shot will pretty much kill you in a single hit 99% of the time. Overall, this vehicle isn't meant to take hits. You are essentially vulnerable to any gun in the game larger than a 50 cal. It is not meant to be a brawler. It shouldn't be relying on its armour to survive. Instead, it should use its speed, and most importantly, the brain of the person playing this vehicle. The Rooikat 105 is armed with, you guessed it, a 105mm gun, more specifically the GT7 105mm cannon. It has very good gun handling, with 10 degrees of gun depression and 20 degrees of elevation. You can carry 32 rounds in total, with 16 of those being classed as first stage ammunition. Seeing as this vehicle has both no armour and hull break, I see no point in not taking a nearly full ammo load in this tank. Being a 105mm cannon, you get the same competitive fire rate as the other 105s found in game, with a stock crew being able to fire every 8.7 seconds and an ace crew every 6.7 seconds. A positive of the turret being so weakly armoured is that it has a very good traverse rate, one of the most important parts of top tier tank combat. The turret is able to reverse at 40 degrees per second with an ace crew, giving it the highest turret traverse rate of any premium tank in War Thunder. The turret also contains a 2-plane gun stabiliser, making the aiming of this tank's gun incredibly smooth, even when taking full advantage of this speedy boy's excellent mobility. The Rooikat stock shell is a DM12 HTFS round, travelling at 1173 meters per second and capable of penetrating 400mm of flat armour. This round is certainly an incredibly powerful stock or free shell. While this round is perfectly capable for knocking out the majority of enemies you'll meet, some opponents with composite armour will give you trouble. You also have access to the DM502 HES shell, travelling much slower at 732 meters per second and having much less penetration at only 127mm. It sort of feels like a downgrade. While HES is useful against lightly armoured targets, I believe that the HTFS performs far better in this role. But the star of the show when it comes to ammunition is the DM23 APFSDS round. This round weighs 3.8 kilograms, travels at 1455 meters per second, and is capable of penetrating 337mm of flat armour. But where it really excels is its penetration of angled armour. It can still penetrate 195mm of armour angled at 60 degrees, and even at extreme ranges, this DM23 round is able to penetrate 306mm at 2000 meters. To make your long range shots easier, you also have a laser rangefinder which gives you precise distance measurements within seconds. You also have very good optical zoom with both 8x and 12x magnification available. On to probably the biggest selling point of this tank is the fact you also have access to thermal optics, which significantly increases the lethality of this tank as it is much easier to acquire targets in poor visibility. As well as your main cannon, you also have a single rifle caliber machine gun which has pretty much no use. As well as the machine gun, the Rooikat also has engine smoke generation as well as 8 smoke grenades. Overall, the weapon system of the Rooikat 105 is incredibly powerful. The thermal optics allow you to acquire targets at long range, the laser rangefinder allows you to acquire distance to target, and the DM23 allows you to knock these targets out. At 8.7 there isn't really anything on the battlefield that will give you trouble. When I first spawn into a game, I will carry around 20 DM23 APFSDS rounds and a couple of either heat or HES shells as backup. Due to the Rooikat 105's light armour and large profile, I typically do not try and engage enemies frontally. I personally have had most success in this vehicle when flanking. You have great speed, an effective gun, and your thermal optics and great zoom allow you to pick off enemies from the very edges of a map. You can also assist your team by flanking, as the Rooikat has the ability to scout opponents. Naturally, this flanking tactic works best on larger maps in War Thunder. On smaller laps where flanking isn't really an option, like Advance to the Rhine for example, you should use the Rooikat's great speed to get yourself into an early game ambush position. A riskier alternative is to simply rush a cap circle at the beginning of a game. While this is effective at getting you RP, like I say, it is incredibly risky, both due to the ridiculous amount of artillery that gets dropped on cap circles, and the threat of running into an enemy directly. I would only risk a direct firefight with an enemy as a last ditch effort to survive. You have the ability to retreat and relocate. Never try and peek a sight line if you know an enemy is looking at you. You die pretty much instantly due to hull break. Relocate and reappear and blow his ass up. In terms of lineups, I found that the British 8.7 is fine, but I prefer to up tier myself to battle rating 9.0. The reason for this is the Chieftain Mark 10. While the Mark 3 and Mark 5 are decent tanks, the Mark 10 is excellent in its role as a long-range sniper. Apart from the Chieftain Mark 10 and the other Chieftain variants, you can also take the other British premium, the Shot Caldaway if you have it, as well as the legendary Warrior, Striker, Chieftain Marksman, and lastly, the regular Tech Tree Rooikat. Having the Tech Tree Rooikat, the Rooikat 105, and the Warrior allows the British to take 3 speedy boys into a fight. In terms of close air support, both the Scout and Wasp helicopters are available to be taken out, and for planes, the Meteor Mark 8 is your only real choice as a fighter bomber. To conclude, I believe the Rooikat 105 to be an excellent premium for people experiencing top tier tank combat. It has great mobility, an incredibly potent gun, and the addition of thermal optics dramatically increases its ability to flank and spank. Like the Tech Tree Rooikat, this premium does need to be played sensibly. You cannot just hold down the W key and expect to get good results. When played cautiously, combined with a bit of map knowledge, I found the Rooikat 105 to be an incredibly powerful and effective asset to the British lineup. While I personally really enjoy this tank, I have to admit, the addition of the thermal optic sight is the only real difference between this premium and the regular Tech Tree Rooikat. While the non-premium only has a 76mm cannon, it still has a 311mm of penetration, compared to the 105's 337mm. What I'm saying is that purchasing a talisman for the Rooikat Mark 1D will get you pretty much the same experience as purchasing this premium. I wouldn't recommend the Rooikat 105 or any other top tier premium to new or beginner players. The skill needed at top tier to be competitive is far higher than any other rank, and is especially apparent in the Rooikat due to you dying in a single hit 90% of the time. For new players, the Cromwell Mark 5 or Centurion Action X is a much better choice. For experienced players, then by the love of God, buy the Rooikat 105 over the Shot Cadelet. While both vehicles use the same ammunition, the Rooikat has much better mobility, thermals, and a higher RP modifier. I'm obviously a Brit bong, and probably a little biased, but I've had nothing but good experience while playing the Rooikat 105. I still don't really recommend anyone spending €60 on a premium tank, but I personally have no regrets buying this premium, even though I already have every British tank unlocked. Any British tanker who enjoys the Rooikat Mark 1D, I would suggest consider buying this premium, and if it ever goes on sale, then I'd say it's a definite buy. I hope you found this video useful, lads, and thank you very much for watching.